Spider-Man on PS4. Man, that was a great game. I love that game so much, I did everything there was to do. I earned all the collectibles, I got all the suits, I completed every single district, completed every single combat challenge, acquired all of the unique skills, even bought the DLC and completed those to 100%. Man, it would be great if they released a complete edition for this game. Oh, they actually did release a complete edition for this game, and it's only $35. That's not a bad deal. I'm about to buy this right now. Whoa, wait a minute. The fuck is this shit? DLC voucher? Well, fuck off. So the Spider-Man Game of the Year edition was announced recently, and I believe it actually was released today, the same day that I published this video. So I'm really disappointed with this release, because there's been plenty of examples as to how to release complete editions for video games, and this is the perfect example of how not to do it. This game is over a year old. All the post-launch content has already been released for this game, including the patch updates, and yet they put none of those things on the actual disc, at least when it comes to the DLC. Now, it can be argued for this game in particular, because the DLC was such trash, and was actually surprisingly the weakest part of this game, that the DLC doesn't really matter. But then you also have to factor in the patch updates that they released for this, along with any of the post-launch costumes. And honestly, even though the screwball challenges were nothing but a bunch of bullshit, the Silver Lining DLC in particular was actually not that bad. That was really the only DLC worth buying, to be honest, simply because of the interaction between Spider-Man and Silver Sable. But if you do want all the DLC on the disc, well, too bad. You're not getting that with the Game of the Year edition for this game. I'm tired of making videos like this and people go up in the comments and try and defend these companies who are greedy and lazy as hell to release a good product. If a game is over a year old and you release a complete edition for it, all of the DLC and all of the patchwork should be on the disc, so the customer does not have to download anything. There's been so many different examples of how to do this the right way, and I'm even going to showcase some examples as to how this has been done correctly. And I'm also going to give some examples of games that were also released post their initial launch with a second edition, but all of the DLC was not made available on the disc. So, taking a look at my gaming library here. Resident Evil 7 Gold Edition was released with all of the post DLC and patchwork on the disc. The only thing that's not on here is the Not a Hero DLC, which Capcom made for free. You don't have to pay for that. Another example of how to release a game with a complete edition with all the content on the disc. Horizon Zero Dawn, which has the Frozen Wilds expansion on the disc. You don't have to download shit. Another example, Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered has all of the DLC on the disc. You don't have to download anything to access the full game and all of the DLC. Here's another example, Borderlands Game of the Year Edition. You don't have to download anything. Includes all of the DLC packs. Oh, those examples aren't enough. Apparently not. So, let me pull some more examples here. Naruto Storm 4, Road to Boruto. Has all of the DLC on the disc. You do not have to download shit. Shadow of Mordor Game of the Year Edition includes all of the DLC, all of the post-launch content, all of the patch updates on the disc. You don't have to download anything. Another example, Injustice 2 Legendary Edition has all of the DLC and post-launch content, patchwork, all of that shit on the disc. You don't have to download shit. Mortal Kombat XL, all the DLC on the disc, all of the DLC characters, patchwork, every update on the disc. Do you understand the point? I think you get the picture by now. And here's some examples of games that were re-released with secondary editions and it wasn't done properly. Final Fantasy 15 Royal Edition. None of the DLC was put on the disc. Why? You'll have to ask Square Enix that question. Speaking of Square Enix, Nier Automata, game of the what the fuck were we thinking with that terrible name edition, was released, I believe, earlier this year. None of the DLC was put on the disc. Why? Once again, you're gonna have to ask Square Enix that question. Street Fighter V Arcade Edition. Almost none of the DLC was put on the disc. You actually have to spend more money to get all of the characters, as users on Amazon have mentioned. So once again, any game that's over a year old, that has DLC that's been released for it, and a bunch of patchwork, all of that shit should be on the disc if the game is re-released, so you don't have to download anything. If a company blatantly doesn't put all the DLC and the patchwork on the disc, it's a lazy release. And even if you haven't played the game before, there's still no excuse for buying these lazy so-called complete editions, because you can easily just buy the standard edition and spend far less money and then buy the DLC later, because it's not like they're actually giving it to you on the disc. You still have to download it. So that's the video, and I really hope that I don't have to make another one of these. But knowing what the modern video game industry has become, it's inevitable that there's going to be more lazy releases like this, and that's extremely unfortunate.